The grout between your kitchen tiles has gone gray, not from age, from everything that has settled into it over months and years of mopping and wiping and spraying and pretending it looked fine. You have scrubbed it and scrubbed it. You have bought the foam cleaner and the gel cleaner and the spray that promised it would lift everything in 30 seconds. And every time you rinse it off and look down and think, it is a little better maybe, but not what it was. The grout is still gray. The sink still has that ring around the drain that comes back 2 days after you clean it. The collar of your husband's work shirt still carries that shadow of grease that survived 3 washes. You have accepted these things as permanent. Most of us do, accepting it as just how things are. We decide that this is just what happens to a home after enough years, that things go dull and stay dull, and the best we can do is buy better products and scrub harder. What I want to show you today costs less than $2. You have almost certainly got both ingredients sitting in your home right now, and the part about what they do together, and why nobody in the cleaning aisle has ever mentioned it to you, that is the part I want you to stay for, because it is going to leave you a little irritated. People who grew up the way I did not have a cabinet full of products. What we had was what the pantry held and what the women before us had figured out over a lifetime of keeping a home running. My name is Annie Hemingway, and I spent the better part of 40 years keeping a farmhouse clean in the Blue Ridge Mountains without buying a single bottle of commercial cleaner. The floors, the enamel sink, the tin pots, the grout around the cook stove, all of it stayed bright because my mother taught me what worked, and her mother had taught her. What I am sharing with you today is from that same place. Subscribe if that kind of practical, passed-down knowledge is useful to you. Every week I bring something that came straight from the hollow. Old methods, cheap materials, real results. The button is right there and it costs you nothing. What I am curious about is this. What is the one surface in your home that you have given up on? The one spot you clean around because cleaning it does not seem to do anything? Drop it in the comments, the grout, the sink, the tub, whatever it is, and tell me where you are watching from. Every comment gets read, every one. The full collection of what I know about keeping a home clean the old way is gathered in my handbook, Everything in One Place for folks who want more of it. The code on your screen right now will take you straight there, and the link is in the description as well. I will leave it at that and get right to what you came for. 2 ingredients. That is all this is. White toothpaste. Not the gel kind, not the striped kind, the plain white paste, and dish soap. Not laundry detergent from a jug, not a specialty cleaner. Plain dish soap, the kind that costs under $1 at any grocery store. Together, these 2 things create something that the cleaning product industry would rather you did not know about, because what they create is a mild abrasive paste with a surfactant built right into it, which is, at its core, exactly what you are paying $7 or $8 a bottle for at the store. The abrasive in white toothpaste is what your dentist uses to polish enamel without scratching it, fine enough to lift staining and mineral deposits without cutting into the surface underneath. Dish soap is a surfactant, which is a word that just means it grabs onto grease and grime at the molecular level and lets water carry it away. Put them together and you have something that scrubs and lifts at the same time. A paste that goes after the thing that is stuck in the surface, not just what is sitting on top of it. That is why the spray cleaner does not fix the grout. It wets the surface. It may dissolve whatever is floating on top, but the grime that has worked its way down into the texture of porous grout or into the fine scratches of an old enamel sink, that is not coming out with a spray and a paper towel. What gets it out is something that physically works its way in, and that is what this paste does. 4 things in your home are going to look different by the time you are done. The grout lines, the enamel or porcelain surfaces, the fabric stains you have been fighting, and anything silver or metal that has gone dull. Each one works on the same principle. Each one takes less time than you would think. And the total cost, start to finish, is under $2. The reason store-bought cleaners keep failing on the same surfaces is not that your home is unusually dirty. It is that the products are designed around convenience, not penetration. A spray has to be safe to mist into the air, safe to land on your countertop, safe to rinse in 30 seconds without leaving a residue that could void a manufacturer's warranty on your tile. Those constraints mean the active ingredients are diluted far below what they would need to be to actually work their way into a porous surface. The bottle says it cleans grout. What it means is that it wets grout and removes what is sitting loosely on the surface. The gray that has been ground into the texture over months, the soap scum, the mineral deposit, the fine particles of everything that passed through that kitchen, that stays. You buy another bottle, it stays again. The paste solves this because it does not evaporate, does not run, and does not dilute itself the moment it makes contact. You press it into the surface and it sits there and works. The abrasive particles in white toothpaste are calcium carbonate or hydrated silica, which sounds complicated, but all it means is that they are harder than staining compounds and softer than the surfaces you are cleaning. They scratch out the grime without scratching the material underneath. The dish soap wrapped around those particles keeps everything wet and lifts the loosened debris so you can rinse it clean. That is the whole principle. Nothing mysterious about it and nothing you need a chemistry degree to use. What you do need is white toothpaste, not mint gel, not whitening strips, not the clear blue kind that your teenager prefers. Plain white paste, the cheapest store brand on the shelf, works perfectly well and will cost you around $1 for a tube that lasts for weeks of cleaning. Your dish soap is whatever you have at the sink. A squirt is all you need each time. Mix roughly 2 parts white toothpaste to 1 part dish soap in a small bowl or the cap of the toothpaste tube if you are doing a small area. Stir it with an old toothbrush handle or a spoon until it comes together into a pale, slightly foamy paste. It should hold its shape enough to sit on a surface without running. If it is too loose, add a small amount more toothpaste. That is your mixture. Now here is what you do with it. Grout lines. Apply the paste directly along the grout with an old toothbrush, not a sponge, not a cloth. The bristles need to work the paste down into the texture. Scrub in short, back and forth strokes along the line, not across it, so you are driving the paste in rather than spreading it sideways onto the tile. Work in sections of about 2 feet at a time. Let the paste sit for 5 to 8 minutes before you rinse. This is the part most people skip, and it is why they do not get the result. The sitting time is when the surfactant is actually doing its work, loosening what has been bonded to the surface. Rinse with warm water and a damp cloth and look at what you have. White paste that goes in gray and comes out with the grime attached to it. On grout that has been neglected for a long time, you may need a second pass. On grout that is simply dull and filmed over, 1 application is enough. Enamel, sinks, and porcelain. These surfaces look smooth but are covered in microscopic texture. The same texture that traps mineral deposits around the drain and the soap ring at the water line. Apply a small amount of paste to a damp cotton cloth and work it in slow circles over the stained area. Use light pressure. The paste does not need force. It needs contact time and movement. Work the ring around the drain for about 2 minutes in a circular motion, then let the paste sit for 3 minutes before wiping and rinsing. For the waterline stain in a bathtub, lay the paste along the line, press a damp cloth against it for a few minutes to keep it from drying out, then wipe and rinse. The cost of this entire process, the toothpaste and the soap, comes to a few cents per cleaning. Fabric stains. For grease stains or ring around the collar on work shirts, apply the paste directly to the dry fabric before you put it in the wash. Work it into the fabric with your fingers or an old toothbrush, making sure the paste is pressed into the weave rather than sitting on top of it. Let it sit for 10 to 15 minutes. Longer for a stain that has already been through a wash cycle, because heat sets stains and they need more time to release. Then put the garment in the wash as you normally would with your regular detergent. The paste pre-treats the stain at the fiber level rather than relying on the wash water to do all the work. On grease stains that have been there for weeks, you may need 2 treatments. On fresh stains, 1 pass is almost always enough. Silver and metalware. Silverware that has gone dull, old tin pieces that have lost their shine, the metal trim on a kitchen faucet that has filmed over with hard water, The paste handles all of these the same way. Apply a small amount to a soft cotton cloth, never a synthetic scrubber, never steel wool, nothing abrasive beyond the paste itself. And rub in the direction of the grain of the metal if you can see one, or in small circles if you cannot. Work one piece at a time. The paste will pick up a gray or brownish tint as it lifts the tarnish and mineral film, which is how you know it is working. Rinse thoroughly with warm water and dry immediately with a clean cloth. Do not let the paste dry on silver. It can leave a fine white residue in any engraving or detail work if it is not rinsed while still damp. For heavily tarnished pieces, work in short sections and rinse as you go rather than coating the whole surface at once. I want to be straight with you about what this paste will not do, because that matters more to me than having you walk away thinking it is a cure for everything. It will not fix grout that has gone black from mold that has worked its way below the surface. What you are seeing in that case is not surface grime. It is a living thing that has rooted itself into the porous material, and paste on top of it will clean the surface layer without touching what is underneath. If your grout has gone black and stays black after cleaning, that is a moisture problem that needs to be addressed at the source, not a cleaning problem. The paste is for grime and mineral film and the slow accumulation of everyday use. It is not a mold treatment. It will not restore metal that has pitted or corroded through. Tarnish is a surface film. Pitting is physical damage to the metal itself. The paste will make a pitted piece look cleaner and somewhat brighter, but the pits will still be there. Do not expect a polish to undo what years of neglect or moisture have done to the structure of the metal. White toothpaste only. The tube needs to say white. The dyes in colored or striped toothpaste can transfer to fabric and to porous surfaces like grout, and once a dye has gone into grout, getting it back out is a real problem. The tube needs to say white, and the paste that comes out needs to be white all the way through. If you squeeze it and see a color stripe, put it back. Do not use this paste on lacquered surfaces, painted metal, or anything with a finish that is meant to be decorative rather than durable. The abrasive particles that make it effective on enamel and silver will cut through a soft lacquer coat or a painted finish. If you are not certain whether a surface has a protective coating, test a small hidden area first and wait a few minutes before wiping to see whether the finish lifts. One last thing, and I want to say it plainly. Do not mix in anything beyond what I described. Some folks read about paste like this and decide to add baking soda or vinegar to make it stronger. Baking soda changes the texture and can make the mixture too abrasive for delicate surfaces. Vinegar mixed with dish soap breaks down the soap's surfactant action, which means you end up with something that works less well than either ingredient on its own. The two-ingredient paste works because of what those two things do together. Adding a third does not improve it. The simplest way to make this a real habit rather than a one-time experiment is to keep a small jar of the paste under the sink. Mix a tablespoon of toothpaste with half a tablespoon of dish soap. Stir it together and seal it in a small glass jar with a lid. It will keep for 2 to 3 weeks without drying out. When the jar is empty, mix a fresh batch. That is the whole system. Work through your surfaces in rotation rather than trying to do everything at once. Grout 1 week. This is where we start. The sink and tub the following week. A handful of silverware the week after that. Fabric stains as they come up before they go into the wash. When you approach it that way, no single cleaning session takes more than 15 or 20 minutes, and the surfaces stay in a condition where one pass of the paste is always enough. You never get back to the point of standing in front of a gray grout line wondering why nothing works. The back of the jar or bottle under your sink is also worth looking at. Old toothbrushes that have been retired from the bathroom are exactly the right tool for grout and for working paste into fabric. Soft enough not to damage the surface, stiff enough to carry the paste into the texture. Keep 2 or 3 of them in a cup under the sink next to the paste jar. When a brush gets too loaded with residue to be useful, rinse it in warm water and keep it. It takes a long time before an old toothbrush is genuinely worn out as a cleaning tool. There are surfaces in every home that people clean around rather than cleaning directly. The caulk line where the tub meets the wall, the grout in the corner where the floor meets the baseboard, the drain collar on the kitchen sink. These are the places where the paste earns its keep most obviously because they are exactly the kind of detailed, textured, hard-to-reach surfaces that a spray and a paper towel cannot address. Work those corners into your rotation and they stop being the thing you avoid looking at. Dish soap costs under $1. White toothpaste costs around $1 for a store brand tube. The cleaning products designed to do what this paste does, the grout cleaner, the enamel restorer, the fabric pre-treater, the silver polish, run anywhere from $5 to $12 each, and most homes keep several of them under the sink at once. That is $30 or $40 sitting in a cabinet, and none of it outperforms $2 of paste that you mixed in 60 seconds. The cleaning product industry is not built around what cleans best. It is built around what sells repeatedly. A paste you make yourself from 2 pantry staples and keep in a jar does not generate a monthly purchase. A specialized product for each surface, one for grout, one for silver, one for fabric, one for enamel, does. The products are segmented deliberately because a single cheap solution that crosses all those categories is a problem for a business model that depends on you buying 4 things instead of 1. My grandmother did not know the word surfactant. She knew that soap cut grease and that a mild grit lifted staining without ruining the surface underneath. She knew it because she had spent decades learning what worked in a home where buying something that did not work was not an option. The knowledge was practical and it was exact, and it got passed down because it was too useful not to. Somewhere along the way, the industry figured out how to take that knowledge, package it into a dozen different products with a dozen different labels, and sell it back to people who had forgotten that their grandmothers already had the answer. There is no profit in the old way. That is the only reason nobody reminds you of it. My mother had a tin basin she used for everything. Washing vegetables from the garden, soaking tools, scrubbing the cast iron before it went back on the stove. It was old when she got it, handed down from her own mother, and it had the kind of dull gray film on it that accumulates when something has been worked hard for long enough. She never bought anything to clean it with. What she used was a paste she mixed in the palm of her hand. A dab of the soft soap she kept in a crock by the sink, and a small pinch of the fine white powder she ground from dried eggshells and kept in a jar on the shelf above the washboard. Abrasive and surfactant, the same principle, the same result. She would work it around the basin with a folded piece of old flour sack cloth, rinse it in cold water from the spring house, and set it upside down on the back porch to dry in the sun. That basin came out bright every time, not new. It was never going to look new again, and she was not trying to make it. She was trying to keep it clean and serviceable, and she did for the entire length of her working life in that kitchen. When she was done with it, it passed to me. I still have it, and it's been decades. It still cleans the same way. She did not think of what she was doing as a trick or a method. It was just what you did with a dull tin basin. The women in our hollow shared this kind of knowledge the way they shared seeds from the garden, not because it was precious, but because it was useful and it belonged to everyone. You passed it along because withholding something useful from a neighbor made no sense when you were all keeping homes on the same ridge. That is the spirit in which I am passing this along to you. 2 things go on your shopping list, and if you have them in the house already, your shopping list is already done. Plain white toothpaste, store brand, the paste kind, nothing with a gel or a color stripe. And dish soap, whatever you keep at the sink. Mix 2 parts toothpaste to 1 part dish soap until it comes together into a pale paste. Keep it in a small sealed jar under the sink and work through your surfaces in rotation. Grout 1 week, the enamel sink and tub the next. Fabric stains as they come up before the wash, silver and metal when it starts to look dull. 5 to 8 minutes of sitting time on grout and porcelain. 10 to 15 minutes on fabric before it goes into the wash. A soft cotton cloth on metal, always rinsed while the paste is still damp. White toothpaste only. No color, no gel, nothing added beyond the 2 ingredients. That is the whole of it. The results will not surprise you after the first use. What will surprise you is that you spent years buying separate products for each of these surfaces when $2 of paste was sitting in your bathroom cabinet the whole time. Keep coming back if that kind of straight talk is useful to you. Every week there is something else from the old way of keeping a home, cheap, specific, and real. Subscribing takes one click, and it means you will not miss what comes next. What I would like to know is this: which of these 4 surfaces are you going to try the paste on first? The grout, the sink, a stain that has been through the wash already, or something silver that has been sitting in a drawer going dull? Tell me in the comments. And if you have already tried something like this before, and it worked, or it did not, I want to hear that too. Every comment in this channel gets read. What I want to show you next follows naturally from what we covered here, because once you understand how a simple paste outperforms a cabinet full of products, the question that comes up is what else in that cabinet you are spending money on that you do not need to. The answer is going to change how you shop for your home, and not in a small way. My mother kept that tin basin bright for 40 years with what she ground and mixed herself, and she never once stood in a store aisle wondering which bottle to buy. You have that same knowledge now. Take it home and use it, and pass it along to someone who could use it too.